Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Christina and I am a homeschooling mom of 5 kids ages 3 through 15. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my honest review of the Good and the Beautiful US Constitution Unit and Gather Round Homeschool's US Government Mini Unit. So I did a video on this about 1.5 years ago when we were first starting out both units. Now, I knew that I wanted to cover the Constitution. I knew I wanted to cover government. And so I was having a hard time choosing between the Good and the Beautiful's Constitution Unit and Gather Round Homeschool's US Government Unit. It's a mini unit. So if you're unfamiliar with Gather Round, a quick overview and recap would be Gather Round is a family-style homeschool unit study curriculum, and they have full-length unit studies, which are typically 20 lessons, with about 4 or 5 pages in student-leveled notebooks for the students to complete independently on their own. In their mini units, sometimes the units will be shorter, like a lesser number of lessons. And then sometimes it'll be the same amount of lessons, 20 lessons, but less pages of independent work for them to complete. And that was the case with the US government unit, the mini unit. And so it had 20 lessons and like 2 pages of independent work for the child to complete after the lesson. So we really liked that unit. It was definitely a mini unit, so while we did learn a lot of things about the US government, how it was formed, how it's structured, and how it works, and how it's currently operating, it was not a deep dive, right? I did not expect a deep dive, which is why I thought, because I had a high schooler that I wanted to really give a true like US government and Constitution course to, that it would be good to pair it with the US Constitution unit from the Good and the Beautiful. Now, I knew going in that that was going to be a more in-depth curriculum, a more in-depth unit. There's a couple reasons why I decided to do both. Now, you can go ahead back and watch that video if you want to about how I came to that decision, but I can share with you that number one, I was more familiar and more comfortable with Gather Round. That is what I initially planned to use. That was like the main curriculum that I was using at that time, so it just made sense to go ahead and use it. But then when I saw that the Good and the Beautiful was coming out with the US Constitution unit and it seemed like it was a more in-depth unit, I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll do both. Because at first I was trying to choose back and forth and I was having a hard time and I was like, I'm just going to get both. It's not the end of the world. If we like them both, great. If we end up liking one more than the other, great. At least I am attempting to cover this topic with my older 2 boys. So that is one thing that I want to note, is that for me, I was planning to do it with my older 2 boys. They are now 11 and 15. At the time, they were 10 and 13. Based on when their birthdays are. And so in my mind, I was like, let's just try both. And so that is what we did. And we kind of alternated back and forth between the 2 for quite a while. Now, we have since finished the US government unit, mini unit from Gather Round Homeschool. So I can give you my full opinion, my full review on that. But I also want to give you an honest update for where I am with the Good and the Beautiful US Constitution unit. It's almost 1.5 years later and we are still not done. It's 30-something lessons, you guys, okay? So there are a couple reasons for this, and I don't believe any of them are at the fault of the Good and the Beautiful, because there are wonderful things that I have to share with you about this curriculum. Okay, so 20 lessons that are shorter lessons versus 32. Oh my goodness, 32. So only 12 more lessons. So this is where we are. We have done up to 22. Now, we clearly do not even do this once a week. You might be the type of person, you do your history 3 times a week and you're going to get this done in a few months. It's not going to be something that's hanging around for 1 year or over 1 year. If you've been following me, you know that I combine a lot of different types of curriculum. We are definitely an eclectic style homeschool. We are family style. We're relaxed. We like to adventure, and we like a lot of real life learning. So we at most have done this 2 times a week. And when I say we've done it 2 times a week, it's typically because we have broken up one lesson into 2 different days because some of the lessons are pretty lengthy. Now, this particular curriculum is created for grades 4 through 8. I would say an advanced 4th grader, like one that is interested in history, interested in government, interested in how it all works. Now, maybe you're like, that's not your style. You choose what you want them to learn. More power to you. I'm giving my opinion that it would need to be something that they're interested in. Maybe they're interested in presidents. Maybe they have interest in government. And you're like, you know what? 4th grade, I think they're ready. Now, you also may be wondering, if this is for 4th through 8th grade, why are you using it with your 10th grader? I think that this is more than in-depth enough for a 10th grader. I truly do. I learn a lot when we do this. Much of it is new information for me. I had never read the Constitution in my life, okay? So there's a lot of adults that could just take this course and learn a ton that they didn't already know. So the reason that it's taking a long time is not because it's not well done. It's not because we don't love it. It is because some of it is a little hard to get through. Now, for me, reading the Constitution is not riveting. I'm just going to be honest. I get into hearing about the biographies. I like to know what our rights are, but I'm not like devouring the Constitution. Like I'm on the edge of my seat and I can't wait to read the next section. So while I'm saying that, I will also say that I love that you do actually read the full Constitution in this unit. You do not in the US government unit, but it doesn't claim to. So it'll reference certain parts of it. There's excerpts of it, but you do not read the whole Constitution. By the time you are done with this unit, you have read the entire Constitution, which I think is really cool because actually the last lesson or the second to last lesson that we did, because it's actually been a couple weeks since we've done it now, it actually said, congratulations, you have read the entire US Constitution, something that a majority of the population has not done. So I think that's really cool. We have read the entire US Constitution now. Do we remember all of it? Questionable. However, we've done it and we still have it and we can still go back and review it if and when I decide we want to do that. And so that is one thing that I do like about it. Now, the lessons are pretty in-depth. There are lots of hands-on activities. There were activities where there was a paper, like a thick paper model of like the Capitol building, the Supreme Court, the White House, and they had to assemble them. And my 11 and 15-year-old did not think it was like too easy or too boring. They actually enjoyed it and even had a couple moments where they were like the littlest amount of like frustrated, like a good struggle, where you're like, good, I'm glad this isn't like so easy that this is like ridiculous that they're doing it. So I wanted to give that perspective as well. There's lots of these little mini books, lots of these that dig into a certain topic. So this was all about influences on the Constitution. They come in here and then you know, there's sometimes like a tiny bit of prep, like rip it out, cut it, and staple it together. For our next lesson that we have coming up, it tells us like the items that we need. We need a paper clip. We need our 3D models of the Capitol building, White House, and Supreme Court, and a prize for the winning team, which is optional. So I do love how organized it is. It tells you what you need to do, like, so items needed and then preparation. It will tell you the things that you need to prepare as the teacher or as the parent. And then it even gives you the specific questions that you're going to ask them to review from previous lessons to get them ready to learn more. It tells you when you need to read aloud or listen to a chapter of Mystery on Constitution Island. This is an inclusion that I really do love and I think is really well done in this unit. This is a novel created specifically for this unit that helps your child stay interested, and it's like they're exploring and learning more about the Constitution and the founding fathers and things of that nature from this book. So you don't read a chapter for every lesson, but certain lessons will have you go in and read a chapter. And that takes some time, right? Especially if you're doing lots of other units, if you're doing lots of other read alouds and things like that. So sometimes we will break these lessons into 2. So if you're doing that for every lesson, now you're already up to 64 lessons. And so that's something to keep in mind when you're thinking about how long each lesson takes and how much time you want to schedule or consider if you're going to do this unit. I would say that to do a full lesson, it's likely to take about 45 minutes to an hour. Like the longer lessons, an hour. This is like rough, guys. I could be a little bit off because I haven't ever really timed it. I think the shortest we've ever done is 20 minutes, but that would not be the whole lesson. It would be half the lesson. And so if it's really heavy and like reading the Constitution in that unit, I might be like, you know what, this is a good stopping point. We'll come back and do the second half if there's like a game or something like that. So a lot of them we have broken into 2 parts, or like the littles will be acting up, or we're all kind of getting a little bit like squirrely and we need to end. Then maybe we'll have like a small section that we need to pick up with the next time. So I wanted to share that. There are games in here, like review games. I'm trying to think of some other, there are like photographs, really high quality photographs. This is really well done. There are a lot of there are maps to show things. There are primary sources and things like that that you will find in here. Like this is George Washington's ledger. So I really like that inclusion as well. And there are many biographies. And so many of the biographies you actually listen to through access to links on the Good and the Beautiful's website. You have access to the full audio of this book. We usually listen to it. And then you have the access to the audio biographies, which is really cool too. So if you're like kind of spent at the end of your homeschool day and you do your history in the afternoon, which we typically do, then you can just hang out on the couch and play it and listen. And what I like is it will also tell you like, students may color page 63 of the student journal while listening if desired. So the other thing that you have is that comes with it are the student journals. Now you have to order as many as you have children that are going to be doing the unit. So we have 2. And I love that it's like a doodle journal. So I'll show you one of them. Some of these are kind of funny the way that he did them. This one he gave a cap, a baseball cap too. But like they can color it during the lesson, and then like if it's a biography, then at the end it'll walk you through discussing like the things that they need to fill in. They'll choose a quote by that person, and I don't know, it's really well done. And this is where there's even like some coloring pages, like the preamble of the Constitution, if I can find it. Yeah, it's something that they can color in if they choose. Here was another thing that they color in. There are some comics in here, and it always tells them, like it tells you in the course book what page to go to for what lesson. So there's no like guesswork or things for them to figure out. So I really like that. So here's an example of that, like the journal time. So you'll go and you'll kind of go through these bullet points with them to help them fill out that section to review like the main points or the main takeaways from that particular biography. So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of the flow, the timing that it takes, the way that it's structured, and all of those things. We have 10 lessons left. We have read the entire Constitution already. So it looks like these next 10 lessons have a lot to do with the amendments as I'm flipping through here. Yeah, this is all about the amendments. There are some mini books in here, some things about the original electoral voting process, amended electoral voting process. So super well done unit, you guys. I cannot say that enough. We just have not been in a huge rush to finish it. And it's kind of like embarrassing a little bit to me. I don't really care that much, but I'm like, yeah, 32 lessons. And here we are over a year later, still doing this unit. But if you follow me, it probably makes sense because we do so many different curriculums. We're very eclectic over here. And there's some weeks we just don't get to it, and that's okay. And sometimes we have to review, like, oh my gosh, do you guys remember what we learned last time? And I'll look back at the last lesson and take 5 minutes to just kind of review and refresh our memories, and then we move forward. So hopefully that gives you a good updated view. Again, still like the Gather Round US Gov't unit. So a cool way of doing it may be if you don't want something this in-depth, or you feel like your kids aren't quite ready for it, but you want to get started on this topic, then the Gather Round US Gov't mini unit might be the place to start. So maybe your kids are just a little bit younger, or maybe you don't want to spend this much time diving in this deep, and you're like, you know what, next year we'll add on to it by doing this one, or in a couple of years when my child is in middle school or when my child is in high school, we will jump into this. I cannot stress enough that even though this says 4th through 8th grade, I absolutely feel like it is enough for my 10th grader, for me and my style of homeschooling. So hopefully that answers any questions that you might have or any updates that you wanted to know. We have never broken up one of the US Gov't mini unit lessons from Gather Round. They are short enough lessons and short enough independent work that it really takes about 15 to 20 minutes to get through the readings. If you want to like watch any of the related videos, obviously that's going to add on a little bit of time. If you have the Gather Round app, that is one thing that I really like, is that Gather Round has an app where there are like member submitted videos that go along with whatever lesson and whatever unit you're doing from them. So that is a cool thing to think about when using Gather Round if you're not familiar with it. And obviously you can add videos, but I really don't think you need to add anything to this unless you just want to watch a particular video, because it has all of those audio biographies, it has the audio version of the novel, and it is really jam-packed with a lot of relevant information. So hopefully that gives you a good idea. Let me know down below if you've used either of these units, what you thought of them, if you like them, if you think you're going to try either one of them. And if you're new here, I would love if you would subscribe. Introduce yourself down in the comments below. I love to get to know you guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any other requests, I did not plan on doing this video. This was a subscriber requested video on many occasions over like the last, 6 months to a year. So I finally got around to doing it. So if you have a video that you would really love to see, please let me know down in the comments and I will do my best to put it on my list. So if you're not already following me over on Instagram, you can connect with me over there too at rooted_homelife. And I hope to see you soon in one of my next videos. Until next time, stay rooted.